Sales is really about understanding the other person. It's just about better communication. As I grew in my relationships, I grew in my sales business. The sales skills, the life skills, they apply to everything. To succeed in life, you need two things: the mindset and the skill set.
Hey everybody, this is Anthony for a new episode of your brother's podcast. Today my guest is Mr. Duc Qui. Duc is a certified life coach through the systems of Grant Cardone, Life Mastery and Mindvalley. He has been studying those life-changing principles for over 15 years now, and his mission is to help entrepreneurs build a life more in line with their purpose and increase their revenue by 30% within the next 90 days. Duc, my friend, it's a pleasure and honor to have you on my show. Welcome.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
So the first thing I like to speak about, Duc, I always ask people to go back in time, and I want to know, how were you as a child? Did you already have this desire to be entrepreneur, or it came later in life, maybe after some, in like mid-20s? Or tell me about this to start with.
Yeah, so as a child, my mom was actually always saying like I was the golden child and I would be the millionaire or super rich.
Really?
Yeah, I was the youngest of two or three, right? So I have an older sister and older brother, but it's like a 10 and a or 11 and a 10-year gap. So,
Mm.
so yeah, the thought of being like a millionaire or a successful business person or very rich, it was always kind of implanted into me. It resonated with me. It's just that we grew up, poor or decent, average.
Were you already in Austin as a child, or your parents moved from, I forgot, you from Philippines?
No, from Vietnam.
Vietnam, sorry.
So I was born in Vietnam.
Mhm.
Came over here at 5 years old.
Mhm.
Okay, my parents were refugees because my dad was actually a prisoner of war for
Oh,
10
really?
years.
Wow.
Okay, so we came as refugees to the U.S. and it was like a pick up whole new life, right?
Mm.
Pretty much struggled. I saw my parents struggling through that. My brothers and sisters, you know, trying to learn a new language and then also trying to find work, and it was tough. So we grew up pretty poor at first, and
Mhm.
then maybe in my teens, the family was doing decent, where we at least have a house, some cars and stuff like that. But we were never really rich. um, but then I see other people who are richer, and so that desire was already in me. You know,
Yeah. And okay, so you were, as you said, so poor but not so poor. When you were in elementary school and high school, did you take any action in terms of wanting to build a business, like any early age of entrepreneurship, or you were more of a shy guy? I think I read from your bio that you were more a shy person, and like it was difficult for you to adapt with the kids, correct?
yeah. So imagine this, right? All the other kids are like wearing t-shirts, and then here I was, wearing like the long sleeve shirts. And then you've seen the pictures where the nerds like have the pocket and the pens and pencils there. That was me. I was a school nerd. Okay, so I was very introverted. Didn't think about business at all. My parents pretty much taught that, hey, you either become a doctor or an engineer, right?
Mhm.
Standard Asian family right there. But for me, I was afraid of blood, so being a doctor was out of out of the picture there. So I chose engineering. I was going to be going to some of the top schools in the nation. Um, so that's all I thought about in high school was how do I get the best grade so I can get to the next university and then get the job. And I was like, man, I'll be like PhD and making a lot of money and stuff like that. But what actually came about was very different.
Yeah. What about the truth? What happened after that? After those early, like, oh, I want to do this and be that, and a reality hit you in the face. What was this reality check that you were not ready for? Maybe.
The reality check was right after college. Okay, so imagine you're 6 months from graduating from college, right? Everyone thinks about getting a job. So here I was applying for different jobs, and let's say I did over 100 applications and yet no job offer. Okay.
Zero.
I barely got the phone screens. All right.
Really?
Yeah. So I was like stressing out. I was like,
Wow.
how am I going to pay for the bills? How am I going to pay for the cars and the food and, for any loans? So it was crazy. And I remember just giving up, basically. It's like, how am I even going to get the job as an engineer? Okay. And I was like, I just need a job to survive. So I was thinking, okay, let's apply for something to where as long as you're willing, they're going to hire. It's very easy. So I actually took a retail job. And I remember one of the questions they asked was, well, why do you want to work in retail when you have a college degree as an engineer? Okay.
Yeah.
So here I was like, I couldn't tell them the real truth, which is I can't even find a job as an engineer. So I had to tell them a second truth, which is, well, as an engineer, I'll have a salary, and eventually there's going to be a glass ceiling. Whereas with sales, you can make commission, and you can earn as much as your skills are good, So I remember getting the retail job, and there was a base salary, so I knew I wouldn't be starving.
Yeah.
Okay. But that was the first realization, is that, I wasn't like the best salesperson or anything. Okay. But during this process of trying to learn how to sell and how to communicate, I remember just being so tired because this was like 12-hour jobs. And then I was also at that time trying to build a business on the side. So I would be going to sleep at like 1 a.m., waking up at 6 a.m.
Oh, terrible.
Pretty crazy. So it's like burning the candle, right?
Yeah. For how long you did that crazy schedule?
This was like 6 or so months at the time, maybe 8 months. And so
the business was based on the business was what? Like, you wanted to start a business. What was the business that you were looking to start? Yeah.
So at this time, I was introduced into network marketing business, where you basically talk to your friends and your family and try to sell them some product.
I've been in ACN in 2010, I think.
Right. I was not very good at it. So, honestly, I joined the business because, someone gave me that dream. They retired at the age of 29. They were millionaires. And I'm like, well, he was an engineer and he wasn't that good. So maybe I can do it too.
Yeah.
But it was tough. Okay. It was very tough because here I was working a 12-hour job and trying to build a business on the side. So I was actually exhausted. I fell asleep during the job.
So you were at the shop and you were falling asleep during your working shifts?
Yeah. I would, like put my head down trying to take a nap. And they were like, no, we can't have you sleeping on the job. So they put me on a probation period. Okay. But then I was like, man, you know what? This is the time now to get the real job, because I've improved on my sales communications and how to like present myself for the job interview and the resume and everything. That's what I realized, that a resume is a sales presentation. Okay. I realized at that time that sales is a part of life.
Of course.
Okay. And in that last couple of months, I actually became one of the top 10 in the district.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So then I realized that, it's a skill set. As long as you have the proper attitude and the mindset, you can succeed in it. So before, I had no motivation to become the best salesperson. I was just trying to pay the bills.
But how did you... So what exactly did you study to become one of the top 10? Was it already Grant at the time, or it was something else? And in which year was that period, just so we can be clear on the chronology of events?
At that time, I wasn't studying any sales. It was just that I had a better attitude.
So really, just with the attitude, you became one of the top 10 because you knew you would be able to succeed, and selling was...
That wasn't even a goal, actually.
Yeah.
My goal at the time was, I'm just going to get a job. But when I'm going out of this they're gonna regret it. I was like, man, you put me on a probation period. I took that resentment and the
Revenge.
anger and I focused it, I transformed it into a positive energy. I said, I'm gonna make them to where they don't want to lose me. I want to be one of the top salespeople.
Beautiful.
Okay, so that's the law of attraction right there, right? When you think about what you want and you go towards it, it happens. Okay, so I didn't even have a goal of being like top district salesperson or anything. Okay, I just simply thought of, you know what, I want to be one of the top so that they can regret putting me on probation. Okay, why? Because here I was, someone who was failing in performance. I wanted to turn it around. Okay, I realized during this experience that life was happening with me and for me instead of to me. So as someone who was being put into probation at the job period, right, I was feeling victim.
Yeah.
But when I transformed that energy, I was creating the life, right? So that started a long journey where for over 15 years I've been studying sales principles and communications. Okay, and you were asking me about transforming moment. Another one was when I watched the movie 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, because
Classic.
here I was, I saw, oh man, there's the nerd again. He doesn't he doesn't know how to go on a date, and at that time I had not even dated.
Yeah.
Okay, I was about to turn 30, and I remember, man, I don't want to be a 40-year-old virgin. I want to get married. I want to start a family, right? And so the point here was that even though I was learning the sales skills, right, and my career in my IT field was now growing, I was not personally growing
Hmm.
in relationships. Okay, so that was another one where it's like, man, the aha moment. It's like where I was applying things, I was succeeding, right? But I didn't know to apply it to everything. I thought it was like sales is just right here, business, right? Or
Yeah. So you used sales skills to find your wife, or how did it happen?
there was not so much sales skills. There was more of um, life skills.
Uh-huh.
In life, you want to have things so clearly defined that you can see it, feel it, right? Okay, so I remember writing down all of my goals and writing exactly what I wanted in a wife. Okay, and I made this long list from age to hair to
Hmm.
even height, to values, um, to languages, right? Because I'm Vietnamese, I wanted her to speak Vietnamese.
Yeah.
To number of kids, and I wrote down everything. And I remember at the end of the list, I was so depressed. Actually, I was like, "How in the world am I even gonna find?" There's like no way in this world that someone like this can actually exist. Okay. But I thought about that almost every night about just being married and being happy, having a family and stuff. So out of the blue, someone invited me, and basically the universe arranged for it. Okay.
So she invited you. It was online. It was in a cafe, a
Mm.
restaurant, or how?
One of my neighbors was Vietnamese,
Uh-huh.
and she never invited me to anything, right? I didn't really talk to her. My mom was talking to her. But what happened was that her sister, which is now my mother-in-law, came to visit. So my mom and them had, collaborated, and they probably like,
Uh-huh.
oh, we have kids. Let's
Little
arrange a marriage,
conspiracy.
right? So out of the blue, um, my aunt-in-laws, her husband, calls me up and invites me to a birthday party. And I'm like, well, I'm trying to build this business at that time, so I'm like, let's go and connect some people, right? Let's network. I knew something was up.
Mhm.
So I went to the birthday party. At the end, they were like, yeah, we have two nieces that you can meet, and just get to know them, and if you like them, then marry them. That's
There
the
you go.
reason. Okay, yeah,
There's
yeah,
the
sure.
catch.
Let me give you my Facebook just so I could get out of the house. So left it at that. Didn't even think about it. Okay, and then suddenly my future wife reaches out to me like a long text because I didn't plan to reach out, but that's what started the friendship, and that's what started things to move.
Huh.
Okay, so at that time I didn't even think that sales skills applied to marriage. But then I realized that what, as we're talking and things like that, sales is really about understanding the other person. It's just about better communication, right?
So,
So
yeah,
go
go ahead.
ahead.
Hmm.
The point here is that as I grew in my relationships, I grew in my sales business.
Ah.
Okay. The sales skills, the life skills, they apply to everything, right? So through these two examples, I learned that to succeed in life, you need two things: the mindset and the skill set. Okay.
And what happens if you only have one of them? Like, give us if you had some clients that were maybe stuck and just with the good life skills but no skill set, or vice versa.
Then you're limited to the smaller one. Okay. So example, I was applying all the sales skills in my IT career, and my IT career was going up. During this time, though, I was still trying to build that network marketing business, and I was stuck. I was stuck. I was like, why is that? I didn't even realize it at the time. Okay, but I had a wrong mindset. I had a wrong attitude. See, what happened is that here I was trying to build a business, and yet I was loathing sales. I was like, I don't want to be the salesperson
Hmm.
because I got rid of that job,
Yeah.
right? Here I was watching movies like Wolf on Wall Street, where people manipulate, right? And then hating those kind of people, or hating the people like the used car salespeople who just sell you for the money.
Yeah.
So I remember saying, I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to be a salesperson. Okay. Yet I want a successful business.
Mm-hmm.
So here I was conflicting internally. So I want a successful business, right? So if business was the plane, then sales and marketing are the wings. So
Ah.
here I am in a plane with no wings.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why I couldn't succeed in the business. So that my mindset was wrong. But in IT, I was applying the same skills, right? I knew how to promote myself. I knew how to find more value or give more value,
Mm-hmm.
right? I was using all the sales principles. It's just that I didn't think of it as sales. I simply thought of it as a job skills.
So you
Okay.
tricked yourself into thinking like sales is not as bad as I think, and it was subconscious maybe at first, but then you realize, whoa, I'm actually being a salesman doing what I'm doing every day. Yeah.
It took me more than 10 years to realize that.
Uh-huh. Okay. So it was not overnight.
No. Why? Because here I was, I'm already married. Now I have kids, right? I'm no longer the 40-year-old version, right?
Good job.
Okay. And I'm like, well, I came across some people who explain things, especially that analogy about a business being a plane. And I'm right. I was like, well, you know what? To succeed in business, I need to learn sales. So I really committed to it. And then once I learned about the sales skills, the life skills, I was like, wow, I've been applying this all these years. I just didn't realize it. See, so for me to succeed in like getting married and having the family that I wanted, that was the life skills. And yet it was also the sales skills, the communication skills, building the right relationships. Because once you get married, it's not a one-time thing.
No.
It's a daily process. It's a daily. You constantly have to resell yourself in a relationship. Why are you being married? Right? Why are you staying with this person? What's the
Do you
life
think
that you want to create together?
do you think it's that could be one of the solutions for the high rates of divorce in the world, actually in America, but also in other countries? People are not like they're not sold on why they're a good partner, and they don't try to express their biggest values, maybe, or like why they're so important in a way that is pleasing to the other party, authentic way, of course, and being sure that the other person is satisfied. So how do you approach that for somebody who maybe he or she's going through a bad relationship or a bad moment, and with your coaching experience, how can you transcend some roadblocks in terms of long-term relationships?
Okay. The first is to realize that life is not happening to you. Okay, because that is a victim mentality.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that I've learned, especially because religion sometimes teaches self-sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so growing up, a lot of times I self-sacrifice. It's not great to do that, because when we self-sacrifice, right, we're thinking I'm doing this for someone's greater good and losing out. It builds resentment.
Mm.
That's not good. Okay, so one of the things I teach and have learned is that true good in life is going to be good for you. It's going to be good for the other person. It's a
Yes.
mutual benefit. Life is not either or, it's and. Okay, so let's take a different topic: work and life. Okay, people talk about work and life balance.
Mm-hmm.
That right there causes conflict. To have more in money, to work more, you have less life. You have less time with your family. If you want more time with your family, like taking a vacation, you have less work.
Mm-hmm.
It's a life work balance.
So that's a lie,
It's a lot.
according to you. Yeah.
Yes. It automatically puts you into conflict.
And scarcity. Yeah.
Okay. It's life work integration.
Mm-hmm.
How can you have more life? How can you have more work? More money, that is.
Uh-huh.
How can you work more effectively? Okay. So it's the same thing now with relationships. In a relationship where someone is feeling divorced, it's that either or problem. Hey, I'm going to do what you want. It's not what I want.
Mm-hmm.
No. The problem here is it's life is happening to me. It's your fault. She made me mad.
Yeah.
Externals. In reality, we are creating the life. It's with us and for us. Okay. So let's say she wants to do something, I don't want to do it. We can choose not to do it. Both of us can choose not to do it. But if I say, okay, let's do what you want, I chose that. I chose that. I am responsible for that.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I learn to take responsibility for my life, there's no conflict. But if I said, oh, she's making me do that, there's a conflict.
And
And
you
this
give your
builds that
power.
resentment.
Yeah. You give your power away by doing this. And do you think this is a skill that you can build quite fast, like with self-awareness every day when something happens with your partner and you just, okay, I feel angry because of this, then you catch yourself, actually it's because of me, because of my past, and I feel triggered because of this. So is it just already a good step to be more aware when you
Mhm.
feel those triggers coming up, and then do you have a tip to just release them instantly, or you just have to go through them at a natural pace?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? The first is to be self aware.
Mm-hmm.
Most people are just living life in default,
Yeah.
okay? And not self aware. So, how can you be self aware? to pause. So when something happens, there's a split gap where you respond. Okay, most people react, right?
Yeah.
So how do you do it? You pre-program it. When this happens, how will I respond? Okay, because if the moment has happened, you'll be in reactionary mode.
Yeah.
Okay, the only way you're gonna fix it is first when it happens to think ahead of time. And so I'll give you an example. Let's say my kid is throwing a tantrum and she's screaming and pounding, right? It's like, ah, in that moment, you want to yell and hit or something, right?
Yeah.
Calm down. How? Because I pre-programmed it. I said, when my kid is throwing a tantrum, I'm going to breathe deeply. I'm going to raise my shoulders, drop it. Because try doing that. Try dropping your shoulders, being really relaxed. Can you be mad? You can't. The only way you'll be mad and angry is when your body tenses up.
Yeah.
But if you relax yourself, just take a deep breath. You can now respond. Okay? So self-awareness is also now listening to what you say. Okay? Most of the time we say we need to do this, we should do this. It's not working with the universe.
I agree with that 100%. Same
Right?
school of
If
thoughts.
we change our language, our self-affirmation saying, I would love to do this,
Yes. Yes.
you'll do it. So like example, let's say I have something that I don't want to do. Like let's say cleaning the dishes.
Let's.
Okay, so in the past I would be resentful. I'm like, she's making me clean the dishes. Okay, again, that's a self-sacrifice kind of thing. Not something I want to do. I just changed my attitude about that. I'm like, well, she's cooking for me. I clean the dishes. That's fair.
Yeah.
It's not that I love cleaning the dishes. I love eating from clean dishes.
Yeah.
Right? Would you eat from dirty dishes? No.
No.
So just by thinking about it like that,
That's good, man. That's a good trick.
fixes the attitude. So my relationship with my wife is so much better. And as my relationships improve, my sales skills improved. As my life coaching improved, my sales improved. It's all related. It's mindset, skill set. As I increased one, life increased. Growing it together. See?
That's.
So setting goals, having a definite target. That's part of it. It's also
Do you
feel.
believe so when you have financial goals, because I think there's two school of thoughts here with the financial goals. Do you think it's good to have a specific number to motivate you to go, and once you're there then set a new one? Or people would say like, oh, it's like an infinite game, and you can, like, if you limit yourself with a number, I mean, why compare yourself with others? Like, okay, I made 1 million this year. Or shouldn't you have like lifetime goals? Like when we speak about 10x goals, is it realistic to just keep certain digits, certain numbers, or you think it's better to say, okay, I'm going to have global impact, I can touch a billion lives? But is it more powerful to say that than saying I will have $1 billion? Or you think both are important?
Okay. So let's take a step back there.
Yep.
Okay. Let's understand why we set goals. Okay. The purpose of goals is for growth. Life is growing. Okay. The moment we stop growing, we what? Start dying. Okay. So the goal is meant for you to grow. if you're going for the goal and you're resenting it, that's not growth. Okay, so let's say you already earn 50K and you set a goal for 100K. It's not so much to limit yourself as it is to grow yourself. But let's say you're going for that 100K and now your family's at risk. You're working so much that you don't spend time with your family. Or you're working, but then you're almost angry. You're like, man, I hate my job.
Yeah.
Is that really growing? No. So that goal of 100K right there is killing you. The goal itself, the number, means it's just a number. Okay, so it's not so much the number as it is how do you feel about the number. Okay, so let's say if it's 50K and it's 100K, and that's just because you think you can hit 100K, but it doesn't excite you.
Yeah.
It doesn't excite you. So guess what? You're gonna burn out. Why? Because as you're working towards that 100K, you're not excited. You're not feeling like you're growing. So this is where Grant Cardone talks about 10xing the goal, because most of the time that's where the excitement is.
Yeah.
That's where you really, really want it, and yet you don't really know how to get it. But that's what makes you grow. Okay? So an example, as a baby, we don't know how we're going to walk, but we see the other kids and the adults walking, we want it. And eventually we figure it out. That's how you grow. Okay? Because growth is you're doing something that previously you couldn't do, or you're doing something better than what you previously did. Right?
Yeah.
So the 100K doesn't matter. It's how you feel about the number. So let's say if for Grant, he's already a millionaire, right?
Billionaire,
so
even.
Target is billion.
Yeah.
Now that's what excites him. Okay, but when he was broke, he had already earned millions. So if he set the goal for 1 million, he already knew how to do it. He's not going to grow. So that's when he was like, oh, 10 million, 100 million. And it didn't excite him. But when Elena was asking him, hey, what about 1 billion? He's like, now he's excited. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's not the number, it's the feelings around the numbers. Okay. And another thing is when you 10x a goal, it's because you're not prepared for it. So let's take the plane, for example. Do you know that when it takes off, it consumes half of it's fuel?
Yeah.
So what happens if your fuel tank is on empty, and then you're taking off and then you run out of fuel? You're going to crash and burn. Okay. So by saying 10x that goal, you're preparing yourself mentally. You're making, like, here's the amount of effort that it takes. Here's what you think it takes. You'll crash and burn this way.
Yeah.
But if you 10x it, here's the amount of effort it will take. I'm prepared for it. And here's the actual amount. You have plenty of fuel to achieve the goal.
Yeah.
So that's the psychology behind the 10x. Okay. It's not so much about doing massive action. Okay. It's about making sure you have sufficient mental preparation and physical, like, preparation. Okay.
So you think, so because Grant speaks a lot about massive action, but you have a bit of a different mentality. Like, you think it's just have more effective, efficient actions to reach higher goals than just massive actions and be probably burnt out later down the road?
It's having the mental preparation first. Because if your goal is, let's say you want to earn $1,000, okay, but this is how much effort it takes, you're not going to reach it. Does that make sense? You have not prepared for it. You underestimated it.
Yeah.
It takes more effort in liftoff than it is to cruise. Okay. So by having massive action and 10xing it, you're now mentally prepared. You have said, oh, I'm prepared for this much effort. And this is how much it takes. It's easier. If you go after something and it's small, right? It's easy to do. So let's take an example. If I tell you, Anthony, I'm going to have you eat an elephant.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be like, man, how am I even going to eat an elephant? Right? Isn't that the first thing that goes through your mind?
Of course.
You make assumptions, right? But if I told you it's an animal cracker, the elephant's like this,
Uh-huh.
you're like, oh, yeah, I can eat that. It's easy.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
See, so if you're prepared mentally for larger amounts and the action is smaller, it's easier. So that's what Grant Cardone is really trying to get you to do is massive action is preparing you for more action. When you're more mentally prepared, the task is easier.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going for 100K and you've never made it before, right? So let's say you're 50K, 100K. 100K is more, right? It's harder to do because it's bigger. But if you've prepared yourself for $1 million or 10, let's say 500K, a bigger amount, right? 100K is smaller now. It's easier. It's easier to get going. So if you're going for the 500K or the million, right? You're for sure going to hit the 100K.
Yeah.
But if the 100K is bigger and you have 50K, you might go right here, and what happens? You crash and burn, or
Yeah.
you level off. You'll hit 75K or 80K, but not quite 100. Okay.
Absolutely.
But if you're going for the million, well, you hit 100K, 200, 300, you leveled off. You still grew in the process. Okay. And when you grew in the process, you grow, right? You're excited. You're happy. You're growing in life. That's what happiness is. It's progress. Okay. So even though you didn't hit your goal, you're still happy about it. And next year we continue to grow. We continue for that goal because it's growth.
Absolutely.
See,
Makes sense.
so that's mindset and skill set. And what skill that took you to one level is not going to get you to the next level. You're going to have to change things.
And do you spend a lot of time networking and trying to find higher level? When I say higher level people, I don't want to say like to judge others, but if you are in a mindset, okay, I'm going to surround myself with at least millionaires. How important is your environment compared to if you just stay with the same friends that you had in high school? Of course, you can stay with them. I'm not saying to ditch them, but how important is it for you and maybe for the people you know around you to have a circle of winners, of visionaries who really want to propel you up front and upwards compared to just chill or do little things in life?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's very important, right? There's this saying that your income is the average of your 5 closest friends.
Yeah.
Okay. Because in life, you're the product of your environment.
Mm-hmm.
That's one way to look at it. And the other way is the environment is a product of you.
Yeah.
The environment is actually a reflection of you in itself.
Yeah.
Okay. But example is, let's say, if you take some of the pine trees, the evergreen trees, in a mountain where it's all rock, it can still grow 100 feet, 200 feet. It's just that it has to do more effort. And even though it grows 200 feet, it's more narrow.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you plant that same pine seed, right, pine cone or whatever, in a field where there's a lot of rich soil, it can still grow that 100 feet. It's wider. Okay. So how does this relate here? Because the first thing is self-awareness. If I'm not aware of certain things, I don't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
So by associating with people who are further ahead in life, they raise your awareness. Okay. They also build that confidence, because maybe you're in that moment and it's like, I don't know if I can do this. And they're saying, yes, you can absolutely do this. I was just like you. It builds you up, right? So, an example, I was listening to Dean Graciosi, um, and he wasn't like super exciting at first, or introvert, extrovert. He was more like me. He was a nerd. Okay, so just seeing that helps grow. One of the people I'm following right now is Jeremy Minor. He was the nerd as well. He was more introverted. He's not like Grant Cardone, who's more extroverted, and he's more aggressive, right? Or someone like Dan Locke. Someone called me the future Dan Locke. So the point here is, as you associate with these people, your comfort level grows. Okay, why? Because right now, where you're at in life is comfortable. It's familiar.
Yeah.
Familiar. And let's say the next level is unfamiliar. So this is where the discomfort comes in. Change is uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget who said it. They said, learn to have more discomfort in life, because that's what's going to cause you to change.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I first associated with people who were making, 5 times, 10 times more than me, uncomfortable. I'm familiar with people who are making, 6 figures.
Yeah.
Well, now it's like I associate with people who are making 7 figures regularly.
Yeah.
It's become comfortable. Okay. So I can see myself easily getting to those levels. Whereas before, it was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. This is so hard. Now it's more like, just like breathing. It's
Yeah. These people
natural.
exist, and they're everywhere. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, this is like running the mile. The first time you do it, you're like, I'm dying here. But as you keep doing it, oh man, 1 mile is easy. Let's do 4 miles, 5 miles, right?
Yeah.
The first time you do exercise, you're lifting that, it's like, oh man, that's so heavy, right? Later on, you build those muscles. It's like, easy. It's the same thing with driving, right? The first time you drive is like, oh my God, I gotta hold this, and then I gotta check this, and I gotta
Angles.
throw it, and you're so tense, right? And then you get used to it, and you're like, oh yeah.
Think about your weekend. Think about the job, and you can do many things while still knowing where you're going.
Exactly. So as long as you invite the uncomfort, it's easier. Okay. Life will either give it to you and you feel victim, or you can choose to accept it. And now you are responsible, and you're creating the life with intention. Okay. So
Yeah.
that's what I saw. It's like some of the best skills that everyone needs to succeed is communications.
Mhm.
It's not so much sales, it's communication. how to understand the next person. Because if you really understand them, it's just a conversation. Okay. And then how do you help them to think differently? So this is my life coaching skills right here. Okay. If I tell you to do something, you're not going to do it. But if I ask you and I get you to think through it, you're more likely to do it. So that's sales right there.
Can you give me an example in your life where it was close to rock bottom, and except the one with the university and finding a job, something else that you were really low, and you use your communication skills to figure out the solution, and it was like the perfect timing, the perfect people around you, but you knew how to speak with them to make it happen?
That's a good question right there, because honestly, I don't remember ever hitting rock bottom.
So then maybe just a good example of you having, so other than the marriage and finding the retail job, something else that you could see, man, if I didn't have these communication skills, I wouldn't be able to get what I want as much, but I was very authentic. I knew how to speak, I knew how to listen, and because of that, I got what I wanted.
Okay. I'll give a slightly different example, right? Which is in the past. Let's say you're tasked with so many different things, and you feel overwhelmed. Okay, so this is where you feel like you're rock bottom. Why? Because so many tasks that you have to do is like you're underneath all that pressure, right? So in the past, victim mentality, right? This is happening to me. I have to do all these things. My language is I have to, I need to, position of black.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to pay the bills. How am I going to pay all these bills, right? Oh, I have all these debts. And I've gone through that. But the feeling is very different because I've learned my life skills already. So I don't feel the rock bottom anymore. Okay. Why? Because I learned this is happening with me, it's happening for me. Well, if I overcome all these issues, look at how strong I am. Look at how powerful I am. Okay. So like recently, like the company I'm working, the VP is giving me more tasks. Other people would be like, "No, man, I can't do it. This is just too much." Okay, and yet here I was, I did everything, and so other people like, on one end, they said that they're overwhelmed. Okay, on the other end, they said that they were impressed. Why? It's like, how the heck does Duke do everything? It's just the attitude. Because here I was, instead of saying, I need to do this, well, I would love to have it completed. I would love to be able to do everything. Look at how much I've done. Look at how much I've grown. I've grown so much that I can handle it all.
Yeah.
What's important will get it done. I can do this quickly. Okay, if this was going to get done, how can we break it up into smaller tasks?
Yeah.
And get it done faster? See, since I was thinking about all the huge things, it's just like, okay, let's just take this one thing at a time. The moment you do one thing, the next thing is easier. You're now in a roll, on a momentum, right? But by saying, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do this, you feel overwhelmed. You feel that rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Rather, I simply learn to change and say, I would love to have this completed. Hey, you know what? When this is done, I have less weight to carry around. I have less luggage, right? So that's what it is that as I think positively, I learn to fix my attitude, right? Think about the end result first. How would I feel with the end result? and you work backwards. But this is the same life skill that it takes for achieving your dreams, because you can't go to your dreams. Going to your dreams is coming from a position of lack. The only way you're going to achieve it is to come from your dreams, to visualize it, to see it, to feel it. Visualize it as it's already done, and then you will find a way to do it.
And how do you keep these feelings of it's already achieved when there's not enough evidence yet of it happening? So for example, I want $1 million, and I know I'm working for it. Every day I'm disciplined, I'm taking the right action, but you get hit by a big unexpected bill, and you don't know how you're going to pay that. So I would assume most people who want to attract more wealth, they know it's not just think, and they know how to take action, which is maybe the weakness of the Secret movie was this, like people were just meditating and attract money. So they missed the work part. But if you know you have to work, or you need to love, or you love your work and you do it, but you have those difficult times, how do you keep those feelings as often active as possible? Maybe not all the time because it's not realistic, but as often active as possible to know, okay, this million or these millions are still mine. They're already there waiting for me. I'm just gonna close the gap in the energy with my action. So how do you stay in this vibration, if you want to use this term?
So you mentioned The Secret and Ron O'Brien. This is one of the best books you can pick up. It's a third book, The Magic.
Uh-huh.
It talks about gratitude. Okay, one of the things I learned from her is, how do you have gratitude in spite of? So let's say you have a bill to pay. Most people are resenting the bill.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh my God, I have this bill. This is another thing. It's the rock weighing me down. Right? Now, if you learn gratitude and you think about the bill, what service is that helping you with? And so to be grateful about it, it's like, oh, I'm so thankful that I have this bill. I'm so thankful that someone else is doing this, that I don't have to. So example, there's a water bill. You know what? Someone that had to dig those pipes and get hands dirty didn't have to do that. Someone had to build those turbines and those water pumps and stuff. Invest millions into that. I didn't have to. I'm so grateful that I can have water like that, just by turning on the faucet instead of having to go walk a mile, carry a bucket, and it's dirty water. Being grateful. So one of the easiest ways to learn gratitude there is to look at someone else who has it worse. It could be worse. Okay? Like yesterday, I saw someone with a broken arm. And in that moment, it reminded me to be grateful that I have healthy arms. So that's the same skill set. It's a mindset. It took me time to develop. And honestly, gratitude is one of the hardest things for me to learn. Okay. Once I learned it, though, it got easier and easier and easier. And so I get that bill. Now I'm like, I learned from Ron and Brian what she does, right? I simply say, thank you, universe, God, whatever you want to say. Thank you for the money to pay for the bills.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes. And then once you pay the bills, you say, thank you for the services rendered. And then thank you for the money to pay the bills again. Right? Thank you that I can afford all the bills. You see? So gratitude right there is what attracts. When you have gratitude, it's now you're vibrating on the frequency of abundance. You're not coming from a position of lack. You think, I have an abundance. So if you have $1 million goal, the first is to feel enough. Because if you're saying, man, I'm only earning six figures, how am I going to earn $1 million? Then there's doubt, right? You don't feel enough. But the example I teach is this. So, Anthony, there's a new technology, okay? And what they can do is they can transplant an eyeball, connect the nerves, restore sight for someone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's this person. He's a millionaire, and he's losing his eyesight, but he'll pay you for one of your eyeballs, so you can still see. You won't go completely blind. But for $1 million, they'll transplant your eyeball to his, so that he can restore his vision, and now you have $1 million. Would you do it?
I wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't. I thought you said you wanted $1 million. This is so quick, man. It's less than an hour.
Yeah.
The recovery process is less than a day. Wouldn't you do it?
It's to realize that your body is worth more than any money once you have all the parts functioning as an organism as a whole. And that's a good point, because often when I have little symptoms, you realize, like, you think about that all the time and it's so distracting. But when you're healed, you take it for granted. And I spoke about this with many other guests on the show, and it's so true. Yeah, like, you don't realize that you have this magnificent vessel working divinely made, and you can go for your dreams because of this temple. And yet, how are you going to feed it? Are you putting vegetable oil, and you have a Ferrari, for example, instead of putting premium fuel?
Exactly.
Yeah, good point.
But in that moment, you realize that you already are worth that amount. $1 million is just a number, but you're worth it. You're enough, as you are right now. And so then for me, when I think about these things, it's the $1 million goal. It's going to come. Let the universe handle it.
Yeah.
You see? So I don't stress about it. It's the same thing that I saw when I was writing the goals of getting married. I simply thought about the feelings of wanting to be a father and a husband. The end result. And it came. It came out of nowhere. Okay. A lot of the connections I have in life came out of nowhere. Because it's the law of the universe bringing it. It's the law of attraction. Okay. So just thinking about the end result, being grateful in the journey. All right. And then you don't feel that rock bottom, which is why I couldn't really answer that. Because
Got it. Yeah, it makes sense for you, man.
I've learned these skills.
Yeah, I think we just had different maybe background, because I had a rock bottom, especially specifically, but I was actually not grateful at the time. So that can be a difference. Duke, we're close to the end. My last question for you today is, if we go fast forward in the future in 5 years from now, and people go back to your episode and they listen to you, what would you like them to remember from you, from your wisdom, from your thoughts, your advice? So maybe one last thing that you would like to share that is representing who you are and what you have to give to the world.
I would say that I'm just like them. I'm just another normal person. Okay. And the challenges that we go through is happening for you, because this is what inspires other people. This is the transformation story. Right? This is what makes life exciting. Okay. Life gives us contrast so that we can experience the fullness of life. Okay. If everything was happy all the time, it would be boring.
Absolutely.
Right? But we have a full contrast, from grief to happiness to moments of excitement to fear. That's what makes it exciting. That's the roller coaster.
Yeah.
Right? The roller coaster is fun because it's so many twists and turns.
Yeah.
So that's just it. It's today I enjoy my life. I live it every day, living the dream. rather than saying when this happens, when that happens, future. I now live it now. So that's what I hope to help other people to do, to coach them. How can you earn what you want, but enjoy the process and create the life that you want with intention? Okay. And you have the power. Other people have done it. So you can learn the same skills. The mindset, the skill set, both were learned. We're not born with it.
Beautiful. Awesome, my friend. Thank you so much, Duke, for your time, for your wisdom. It was, what I like about this episode, you brought with you a wave of calm I was feeling in your ocean, and just listening to you like a wise monk somewhere like in the mountain, and just like he's trying to just rinse my brain, rinse my mind of all these ads and all these like stimuli around me. Okay, just be here, be now, while speaking about also sales and communication. So thank you so much. How can people relate or connect with you online if they want to have, maybe if they want to work with you exactly, or if they want to follow you on social? So now is the time for your self promotion, and I let you speak about yourself. Yeah, go ahead.
So I gift people with a 15-minute strategy session. It's completely free. Okay. And it's meant to learn more about them and if I can even help them. Okay. So you can send the link to them.
Mhm.
Take advantage of it, right? What's it going to cost you? Absolutely nothing. Well, what will it cost you not to do? Continue to live the life that you already live. Well, is that really what you want? If there's something that you want to change, there's some kind of discontent, then let's honor that discontent and let's find a way to help you achieve your goals and dreams and truly live it right now and enjoy life to the fullest.
Yeah. Are you more on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, any other platform that you prefer to be?
I'm mostly on Facebook. I'm also on LinkedIn. I don't really use the other ones yet.
Good. All right, man. So thank you so much for your time. For me, guys, this is Anthony Rivest, your host for Your Brothers Podcast. You can follow me personally on Instagram, on Facebook, and LinkedIn, and Your Brothers Podcast on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and a couple of other more. If you like this show, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with your friends. And if you want to support me financially, you can click the Patreon link below. And we appreciate donations if you like the quality of the show and if you want to raise the standards over time. So thank you so much for your time. And Duke, thanks again. I will see you next time. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.